Hi, this is Greg Johnson with Blue Book Services, joined as always by Pamela Riemenschneider for our weekly Week in Review. Pamela, looks pretty nice there. Looks kind of vacation-y.
Kind of vacation-y, actually. I'm in my hometown, Lake of the Ozarks, Missouri, on vacation. We just ran the jet skis out of gas, so we had a moment to call in to hear what happened this week, because you know what? I've been on vacation. I am blissfully unaware of what's going on in the produce world. So why don't you break it down for me?
Well, your dedication to Week in Review is commendable.
Or work-life balance.
Yeah. Well, this is just a little bit of work in the vacation. Yeah, we had a busy week, had a lot of labor stories. Those aren't that fun to talk about, though. I think we should talk about a few things that you should know a lot about. We had a study from a group called Placer.ai who had a survey, and they determined that foot traffic data is showing that consumers are trading down because of inflation. And it looked at it on terms of fast food and QSR versus full service restaurants. It looked at grocery versus superstores, in which superstores are doing better foot traffic wise. Grocery is still doing pretty well, as you would imagine, but the trading down aspect is just more evidence that consumers are really feeling the pinch of inflation, and they're doing something about it, not surprisingly.
Well, I mean, just talking about grocery prices coming here to central Missouri, it's a little more rural. It's a little farther away from Mexico than Austin is. And I took my family to the grocery store just around Hy-Vee, and just to look at the prices, they were shocked at how expensive some of the stuff is. I think we're spoiled in Texas by low grocery prices, lower cost of living on a lot of things. So to go into Hy-Vee and see that cilantro is 99 cents, I mean, that's a normal price for them. But in Texas, it's never more than like 29 cents for a bunch of that. But I do see, and I'm also seeing, I would be interested to know if the Placer thing also looked into discount grocers, and if discount grocers are also getting more traffic, because I'm sure they are.
It did. It had, I even put a chart into that story. Discount and dollar stores are doing well foot traffic wise year over year.
Okay, well, that totally makes sense. And I think it's a no-brainer, especially when we're talking about restaurants, because restaurants with a lower labor model, that ties into the other news, are the ones that are thriving, because they've got lower overhead, and also typically lower prices than somewhere with a sit-down model. So yeah, I mean, just reinforcing what we're seeing in trends, and this is not something that's going to go away anytime soon, I'm sure.
No, in fact, a fellow shopper of Missouri, as am I, Missouri has one of the lowest gas prices in the country. And so if you were traveling to California or the Northeast, I'm sure you'd be shocked even more to see, and I'm sure the prices are way higher there because gas prices are higher, and that affects everything, especially when it comes to food.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was also noticeable when you said that the standard grocers are seeing a little bit less traffic, because the next story that you had that you told me before we got started was about my hometown grocery store, HEB, scoring really well against Amazon in online grocery. Not surprising. If you go to an HEB anytime, anywhere in Texas, pretty much, they are not contracting their sales of the HEB curbside. I mean, there's an army of people constantly going in and out of the front of the store to fulfill those curbside orders. And you're seeing more and more primo parking, is kind of annoying, on the older stores being dedicated to curbside pickup. So that looks like, for at least HEB, to be thriving. So to see them score so well up against head to head with Amazon was really interesting for me.
Yeah, not only that, but I mean, in the top 5 list, this is a dunnhumby retail preference index story. The two Amazons were 2, 3, and it was close, the story said. But then following those are Walmart, Sam's, Kroger, who we know have invested quite a bit in online grocery. So to still be behind HEB, which only operates in one state.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that always makes me wonder on these things. It's like, where were the people that they were asking about this? Who conducted the research? Because I'm sure Anna Marie could probably lend some insight to that. It's all about who you're asking, but to see that kind of grocer come out on top was really interesting. Um, uh, you've got one other thing coming up this week, right?
Yeah, well, actually, next week, I am going to be one of the featured speakers on the IFPA weekly town hall. We're kind of summing up what attendees learned from the Brandstorm conference, which was last month. And they asked me to kind of expand on the presentation I gave, which was a lot about inflation and not just about, why we have inflation, how long is it going to last, but it's more about consumers feeling it. And we talked about the fact that consumers are reporting much higher food inflation than U.S. government figures. And I think we're both inclined to trust consumers because it's coming out of their pocket, and you and I are consumers too. And we go into the stores and we see what it is, and it is definitely higher than we're getting in government reports, which means inflation is worse and people are feeling it worse, which brings us to the next point, which is both retailers and produce companies and food companies in general need to be very empathetic with consumers and their struggle with higher prices, and figuring out a way to speak to that and place business in a position where it's helping and feeling their pain. We're already starting to see more couponing, definitely marketing on price and value terms. And that is one way to connect and just let consumers know that that they're struggling, and providing solutions.
Yeah, providing solutions, and make sure that solution isn't sneaky shrinkflation. Sneaky shrinkflation, I think, will do more harm for a brand than good. But if you sell it right, I mean, we're all talking about selling things. If you sell it right, especially in fresh produce, if you sell it as you're going to waste less, we're doing you a service by providing a smaller package. This is less food waste and more value and a lower price point. I think we can get by with doing that. But if you just like suddenly shrink it 10%, leave the price the same price point, and don't explain, then you're gonna get burned, especially on social media. So definitely have social media ready. Definitely have a marketing message ready to talk about that if you are considering shrinkflation, because there's a lot of nasty articles out there right now, really dogging a lot of companies for shrinking packaging, shrinking sizes on things without any kind of explanation, because it just sounds ripped off.
Transparency is really important in that, and like we've talked about, the random weight stuff, that's one way that is pretty easy to do. And it's hard, I know, for retailers to not want to get that big ring, but consumers who get burned are going to be very upset, and they may not return, and that's not worth it. That's not playing the long game.
The first time you pick up $15 worth of grapes or $20 worth of cherries, the next time you go to the store, perhaps you walk past that and go back to apples or something like that. So definitely think about shrinking that random weight package down from 2.5 pounds back down to 2 pounds, to try to make it a little more reasonable. And then retailers themselves can remind consumers that this is a random weight package. I don't want you making a mess in the produce department, but you don't have to take the whole bag of cherries. That's one of those things where it's like, it can be a strong marketing message to be like, hey, make sure you take only what you need if you're looking to save money, here. And that way it looks like you're being helpful rather than just trying to get them for all the money you can. So.
Right. That we're in extraordinary times, and that's one of the solutions. Well, I feel bad enough pulling you out of vacation. I think we should wrap it up and let you get back to the jet skis and beautiful Missouri summertime.
All right. Well, that's it for the Produce Reporter Weekend Review. If you are not getting the Produce Reporter newsletter, you need to go to producebluebook.com and sign up. See you later.